Look how perfect Krishnamacharya's picture is right in the background. Okay, welcome. I'm so happy.
You're just recording yourself right now?
Yeah, I'm recording myself, not you guys. If you speak, the people will hear you, but they won't be able to see you.
But they're not there right now. You're just going to record.
One of them is actually on. It looks like Kim is, ooh, sorry. Oh, it doesn't matter. Looks like somebody is actually on here listening. But if she's not here, I'm recording it.
So she can tune in at any
So,
time.
yeah, and I'll keep it up for like a month or so, and she can take a look at it.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is, if I teach online sutras, this is how I do it. Yeah, okay. Here we go. We'll start with the invocation. You may just have to talk louder if you have a question because I have my earphones in. So I can read lips pretty well. Okay. Yastyakva rupamadyam prabhavati jagataha anekadha anugrahaya prakshina klesharashihi vishama vishadharaha anekavaktra subhogi sarvajnana prasutihi bhujaga parikaraha pritaye yasya nityam devo hi shaha savo vyat sita vimalatanuhu yogado yoga yuktaha yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankha chakra siddharinam sahasra shirasam shvetam pranamami patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Vagishayati Shwarabhyam Samprapta Chakram Karnabhashyasaram Shrinut Narangendra Yatav Samarpita Svam Shri Krishna Maryam Guru Varyami De Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatathara Krutodayam Yogacharyam Krishna Maryam Guru Varyamaham Bhaje Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Okay, welcome back, guys. We've been like off for about a month or so, but Chris has been off for like 2 years from Yoga Sutra. He took a long vacation.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to see you here. Wow. So we are about to study everybody's practically favorite topic in yoga. Can you guess what it is? Or most of the world's favorite topic in yoga? Oh, you are so smart. Asana in general. Funny, I was wondering if in my unconscious, I knew, of course I knew in my unconscious what I was going to cover today, but this morning I had a wonderful dream about koala bears I was in Australia. I'm going to actually call my Australian friends and see, or, you know, email them and see if there's any significance, like Aboriginal significance to dreaming of koalas or something. But it was a koala on its mommy crossing the road. And interestingly enough, when I think about it, because I always think about my dreams when I have them, I spend some time and I say, well, why? Where's this coming from? That would be a great symbol for me of Siddham and Sukham, which we'll talk about now.
Kind of like Vishnu sitting on
Adishesha. Exactly. So Stacy and I will have some inside jokes once in a while. Not real jokes, but there's things that we know because we've learned, you know, similarly for so many years. So we are entering the part of the Yoga Sutra, the actual 3 sutras out of 196. It's chapter 2, 46 to 48. The 3 of 196 sutras that talk about yoga postures. The rest of them talk about the mind and what the possibilities are for a human being whose mind is calm and focused, right? So these are the 3 sutras that talk about asana 46, 47, and 48. And we will dive right in. So yama, niyama, it's the 3rd limb of yoga. Asana is the 3rd limb of yoga. Patanjali doesn't mention asana first, although most people are doing asana first. He mentions the yamas and niyamas first, as we know, because they are the hardest, because it's something that we can practice all the time. And, you know, as far as Patanjali says, this is an ethical system. We not only can, but this is what you have to do. You have to practice yama and niyama all the time. And, you know, so he doesn't start with asana. However, I know that we have discussed that in order to know what to do with ourselves, we really have to start doing something tangible, gross, something with our embodiment, something with this body that we come with. So you have to do something with it so that we can think straight, really, so that we can think straight. I remember our old friend Billy. We were in a Yoga Sutra class, and, you know, we were like, I asked a question, like, what do you think should come first, practice or non-attachment? 2 very big concepts in yoga. As a matter of fact, dear Krishnamacharya says yoga is a bird with 2 wings, abhyasa and vairagyam. That's how he describes yoga. And he said, well, I think practice has to come first because I wouldn't even know what the hell I had to let go of if I wasn't doing something to stabilize me. And it's true, we have to practice first. But how we practice is the biggest factor in what happens in our life as a result of our practice. And I think this is the missing link in modern day yoga. And I have to say, I have a little bit of a sad, it's not such a sad story, but all these years I've been saying, oh, thank God I practiced yoga before for such a long time and for extended periods of time for each practice and with absolute peace and quiet around me. I just locked myself away and I did my yoga practice, and I did this for so many years. And the quality of my practice was so high that now, even though I have maximum 20 minutes to practice every day, with a koala on my back, exactly. If a Johnny is with me and I haven't effectively farmed him out to somebody so that I can get my practice, I'm telling you, he tells me what to do. Bend down, touch the floor, put the foot over there, and, you know, he teaches me the yoga that I am to do so that he can come on me and play with me while I'm doing the yoga. But, you know, for quite a while I've been saying, hey, you know, thank God I did that, because now in my 20 minutes, I can get somewhere. I can get into it. If I didn't have the history of practicing for a long period of time, it would really take me much longer to get into my zone. However, you know, this last month, I have been sick for about So almost 2 months I've been sick for. Since right before you went to, yep, right before you left for Colorado. You don't have to look at why I got sick now, what I did. I don't think there's anything that is really a mystery when I think about it. You know, I've had a tremendous amount of trauma and stress in the past 4 years of my life. I haven't slept. And I really have to be honest with myself. I've basically been in fight or flight since my son was born. Actually, since he was 20 weeks in utero, because I found out there was probably or likely going to be something wrong with him, which is a terrible way to be pregnant. So what I want to say is we can't rely only on our practice to do all of the work, right? Because that's not going to work. Like, I'll be a living example. When yoga talks about the tools of yoga, diet is included, lifestyle is included, meeting with the teacher on a regular basis is included, asanas are included, breathing practices are included, chanting is included, ritual is included, meditation is included. These are all included. So obviously a 20-minute yoga practice is not going to take care of all my needs, but also, and obviously, a 20-minute yoga practice with my son around and everything did not effectively facilitate Sthitam and Sukham because I did not have Sthitam and Sukham in my life. And the way I'm beginning to see this is that your life, how you are feeling and faring in your life, if we can get really honest, is a great reflection of the quality of your yoga practice. Does this make sense? So how we are faring in our life or functioning in our life or feeling in our life is a reflection of the quality of our yoga practice. And as a matter of fact, we just taught on, in our intensive that we're doing on Saturday, I taught one of the definitions of yoga. You did? Yeah. Actually, Gabriel, our friend Gabriel, that was what he chose to teach about, and I was thrilled. And I could tell, and Susan also. That's so funny. Yeah, they both taught extremely well. I was very proud of them. It was not an intellectual teaching. It wasn't. I was so proud of them. It was flowing from their heart. This is for the kind of teachers I want to make. Teachers whose knowledge has digested and settled in so that they are teaching from their hearts, which they were. So I was very happy. But yoga is relationship. So part of this yoga is relationship means the relationship between our mind, our body, and our breathing. We have this great, in our tradition, this triangle that we draw. Hi, pretty looking dress today. Don't worry, you're not on the video. I am only on it. I hope so. Okay. So this triangle, body, breath, and mind. So we have to look at this body, breath, and mind triangle when we cover this second chapter, Sutra number 46, which is 3 words. That's it. Patanjali defines asana in actually 2 words, Sthitam and Sukham. These 2 words. You've probably heard these words many times before, especially if you have Stacy or Danielle as a teacher. You hear these words, Sthitam, Sukham, asanam. So an asana has the dual qualities of Sthitam and Sukham. Now I've heard some funny things like 50% Sthitam and 50% Sukham, which is not true. It's 100% Sthitam and 100% Sukham in your asana. Now, let me tell you what these 2 words mean. We'll look at their roots. The root of Sthitam is Sthi, and Sthi means to stay. In other words, to be stable. To be stable. Sukham, the sukh, good, expansion, the feeling of expansion inside of me, particularly here in this space over here, so expansion here. Calm means space. Calm is actually the space inside your heart. So Su means good. If you have any friends called Sue, you can tell them that. You know your word name means good in Sanskrit. Su, come. So that means it's a good space in the heart. As opposed to do come, which means the space inside the heart is going like this, constricting. It's an open space and a constricted space, right? So now, interestingly enough, let's come back to this triangle. The way yoga understands, we have three particular instruments of action. One of them is the body. The other is the mind. And in this case, the other in this triangle is the breath. Right? The other one in this case is the breath. Usually it's the voice. It's another way. But in this triangle, it's referring to the breath. Now, my question or quandary here is, how do we reach Sukham in the body? Well, I don't know. You put me, for example, you put me on a most comfortable couch in the middle of the day. There's no way I am going to be able to take a nap. Can't do it. My body is very comfortable. It's the most comfortable couch, you know. Even we went to this this store, Cocoa something or other, in the West Village, because of course I'm getting a Johnny a bed. I want it to be a bed that doesn't gas off chemicals. I want it to be a natural bed. Go to the coconut store. The bed is $4,000. Ted is like, what is she doing? But at least they made us orange juice in there, you know, fresh squeezed orange juice. Even on that bed, you put me on that bed, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep in the middle of the day, unfortunately. My health goal is to be able to nap, by the way. It's my new health goal. But that means something. It means that your body could be in something like a comfortable position, but if the rest of you is not in a comfortable position, it's not going to work. It's not Sukham. So I am not in Sukham if I'm relaxing and my eyes are closed in this bed and I can't just drift off into sleep. So I want to know how does Sukham translate, let's start with Sukham, at the physical level. How does ease, let's just call it ease, or being at ease, or be comfortable, what does that look like at the physical level? The body is
probably not shaking.
Relaxed. The body is definitely relaxed. Yeah, let's try to use the words, like the positive words, instead of not doing this. Let's start with the positive words, then we can get to all those other things that people want to do. The body's relaxed. And the mind? Calm. And what does Sukham translate into at the level of breathing, would you think? Almost, I would say. Well, let's see, in the classes I taught recently in class, I hear somebody all the way over there. I hear their breathing where you are. I can hear you breathing, and you're all the way over there, and I'm over here. Does that sound like Sukham?
Too harsh.
Yes. The breath should be quiet. You should be able to hear it, but I shouldn't be able to hear it from here. That's how we say it. If I have to hear your breath from over here, it means there's not Sukham in the breathing. It means the breathing is forced. So the breath should be quiet. So that's why I say part of it. Dirgha Sukshma, subtle. quiet and subtle. Quiet and subtle. So a body that is relaxed, a mind that is calm, and breathing that is quiet and subtle. That would be Sukham at the level of the body. And then we have this word Sthidam. Sthidam, again, it's to stay. It's a sort of, it means to be stable. So, Rigid. Rigid, yes. Rigid is not the same thing as stable. Rigid is not the same thing as stable. No way. So a body that is stable, just like a body that is Sukham is at ease, a body that is stable is more the not shaking. Not so not twitching. Where was the recently twitching? I was telling me a story about myself actually. The second time I went to Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram was for a Vedic chanting course. And Kaustuv was giving the meditations every night. He would come in at the end of the night. The ladies would teach the Vedic chanting. Kaustuv would come and be doing these strong meditations. And I remember Shavasana, I was in Shavasana one day, and my whole body was like, I wasn't having a seizure, but I couldn't be still. My body was so unstable. So a body that is stable is not moving. It's still. Still. Yeah, the body is still. So, like, none of this shaking, twitching, looking around, other people around. So you don't need that. When you're stable, you're sort of self-sufficient and self-contained. So the body that is in Sthidam is stable. There's no shaking. As a matter of fact, in my yoga classes, if I see someone shaking, I will quietly go over to them and tell them that they should do something different. So the shaking stops. And Angame Jayatva, shaking is a sign of suffering in Patanjali's eyes. So if you're shaking, if you're trembling, you're suffering. So a body that is stable is also pain-free. Okay, so, you know, like sickness-free, disease-free, pain-free. Then let's think about, let's start with breathing, actually. The breathing, stable breathing, would be uninterrupted. Long and uninterrupted. So, you know, if you have to breathe in pieces, that's not stable breathing. If you have to, like this, I'm not exaggerating, but this happens. The breath happens in sort of pieces, or all of it happens quickly, so long. The breath should be long, it should be uninterrupted. Some people, they breathe in, their arms only got to here, the rest of their breath, they're holding the breath. So not holding the breath. You're not holding the breath is long. It is uninterrupted. This uninterrupted thing is a big deal because we'll get to that again. So that's the kind of breathing. Then we have to look at the mind. And this is a very cool part of this all. What does a mind that is in Sthidam look like? Stable. Focused, definitely. Now my next question is what? On what? What does the mind focus on? Because when we do asana, We can focus on anything. So if a mind is focused on getting into that posture no matter what, I'm going to do that posture today, not Siddham. Not Siddham at all. This is the posture I'm going to do today. I'm going to do it. It's my goal. Goals. Doing that posture. Nope, that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about that at all. But I will say what he is talking about. Each posture, classically, has a function. There's a reason. Hi, David. You can just come on in when you're ready. I got your message. I'm sorry. The northern state needs an HOV lane.
That's probably what it yeah. Took me an hour and 20.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Oh, I didn't even know. Must be. So if anybody is listening to the recording and they have to drive home on the LIE, don't. Use Waze. You think I work for them. I tell everybody so much to use them. So a mind that is in Siddham is very focused, but not just focused on anything. It's focused on the function of the posture. You're getting a sneak preview of what I will be teaching in October. The function of the posture. So what isn't the function of the posture to just like put your hands on the floor when you bend over? Right? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Isn't that like a perfect yoga posture? Isn't that our goal? No. That's form. That's form. So we make a very clear distinction in the tradition of Krishnamacharya between form and function. And I'll just tell you a story, not because I want to brag at all, but because I want to demonstrate how I learned this the hard way, because everything in our lives, I think for the real lessons, at least for me, I have to learn the hardest way possible. So when I first went to the KYM, Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, I got a nickname from Desikachar on the first day. The first day I got a nickname, and my nickname was Uttanasana. That was my nickname. He didn't even know my name. He would call me Denise or something else for a few years if he tried to call me my real name, but he would call me Uttanasana. Even after, it's like 9/11 or something, I remember him and Kaustubh came here, and they were doing a chanting at a church, and Kaustubh said, Appa, that's how you say father in Tamil, Appa, Uttanasana has come to see you. So Uttanasana was my nickname. And it was nice to have a nickname from Desikachar, and you know, to get a little special attention. It made me feel important. He always made me feel important from day one to the last day, which I told you the nice story about him when he took me on a walk to his house. So anyway, I learned so quickly that Krishnamacharya, a lot of times people, this tradition has the nickname mini yoga, because it's a sort of spin-off on Vini Yoga, which is, it's not this tradition, but somebody in this country who learned with Desikachar sort of coined it Vini Yoga, but that's not what it's called. But I learned very quickly that Krishnamacharya's contribution to yoga, although he was the history's premier yoga therapist, he can make yoga very easy. If you can't do something, you can always do it. He can make you get what's supposed to happen, but he can also make it very hard. So here I was thinking that I was in Sthidam and Sukham and Uttanasana and then Desikachar day 2. Wait, somebody in here can do Uttanasana so well. You're laying on your legs, your body's in half. Where is she? Of course, everybody's looking. Then he calls me up on the stage to do Uttanasana. He said, my father was an expert at making people feel the posture, making people feel the posture. So he said, okay, do it. He said, where do you feel this? I said, actually, I don't really feel it. I don't really feel this posture. And he said, okay, now inhale for 10 seconds and exhale for 20 seconds and go down. I'm like, you know, barely can do that. But he's like, where do you feel it now? I was like, well, I feel it in my back. And then he said, well, where do, you know, he gave me some other things to do now, like chant Om for 10, 20 seconds when you're bending over, and then hold after your exhale for 20 seconds or something like that. And I was like, he's like, how you feeling? You know, like, I'm sweating. And, you know, like I was like, wow, you know, I'm really breathing now, sir. And I'm really focused, like I couldn't think of anything else. So that was his way of getting me to experience the posture. And his great student, S. Sridharan, who, he called me Paschimottanasana. He said, he would say, Danielle, she can sleep in Paschimottanasana. Like there were some students, I was in the intensive that you know, maybe I used to see people flexible like this a long time ago, but I don't really see people who are flexible like this in my classes anymore. Super young and super flexible. Yes. So, you know, anyway, I was like, wow, but this is my point, that it doesn't matter if you can bend over or not. You're still doing the asana if you feel it in your back. So insthedam in the mind means you are focusing on the function of the posture when you're doing the posture. You're not focusing on the form of the posture. Something should be happening, but if I'm laying on my legs, the likelihood is I'm already very flexible. I'm not good at yoga. I'm flexible. Being flexible and being good at yoga are two completely different things. You have a funny story?
Well, just because Richard talks about it all the time, he's always trying to get this very message across, and he always says, blessed are the stiff, for they are the ones who really understand the function of the pose, and they feel it the minute they bend forward. And he's always trying to get the people who are super bendy, who can do all these crazy things, to feel something. And when I was in the intensive over the summer, I would say probably like 70% of us were on the stiffer side, and the other 30 we had like some really crazy people who were doing third and fourth series. But he got them to feel it, and then it like completely changed. He got them to slow down, to breathe differently, so that they actually started to experience something, and you know, tears and just emotional like breakthroughs were happening. And I spoke with some of them afterwards, because like I'm sitting there just kind of like watching, knowing what he's doing, and thinking one of two things will happen. They'll either hate this and go running back to the way they've always done it, because it's just easier. The
path of least resistance.
Right. Or they will recognize the value of what he's trying to get across, and they got it. They were like, they basically said, like, I'll never be the same, my practice will never be the same, it's changed everything. And I remember, you know, my first trip there, after kind of learning what he's teaching, which is right in line with what you're saying, and I remember I could barely get through Surya Namaskar and standing poses, and I looked at Mary and I said, I'm done, I'm exhausted, I have to lay down now. And she goes, that's because you're doing the internal form, you're really doing this in a way that is so much more mindful and like awake, and really started to feel it. I mean, that's when everything shifted for me. And then he always just says, you know, he'll joke about it and say, yeah, you stopped just thrashing about, you stopped just throwing your body around, and now you're actually doing the practice. Very different.
Jessica Chard tells us the story of, right in the same line, being in somewhere in Scandinavia where there are plenty of Ashtanga yogis, because it's cold and it's dark, and you know, it's such a Brahmana practice. It's such a energizing practice. And he said that, you know, he wanted to teach them yoga, and he might have even said, do the practice you're used to doing. He might have even said something like that. Or he gave them, you know, well, Krishnamacharya taught, we teach like that. We teach, there's a place for teaching like this in our tradition. So or he taught them these sort of, you know, jumping sequences and things like that. But he said, what I want you to do is please inhale and exhale for 5 seconds the whole time that you're doing this. And Jessica Char's terminology, I think this was, there was one summer when he said this about every story that he told ended in this way. He said, and everyone collapsed. That's what he said. He said, everyone just collapsed. And I swear, like, there were like 10 stories that he told in this summer in this Sangha that everybody wound up collapsing at the end of the story. It was really funny. He didn't realize he was kept saying collapse, but we all did, so we would just all chuckle at us. He'd be like, oh no. Yep. But yeah, because there wasn't Sthiram and Sukham in it. If you have Sthiram and Sukham in your practice, you should be able to inhale and exhale for 5 seconds. You know, we do this in our classes. Today we use 6 seconds, right, at a certain point. But they all collapse. So this is a big part of how we gain the mental Sthiram in a practice, so that we're actually focusing. Of course we're focusing, but what are we focusing on? We're focusing on the function of the posture, and not the form of the posture, because that's a really good way to break your stability, to focus on the form of a posture that you can't do. This beautiful, great posture that you can't do. That's a really good way of messing up your mind. Because what happens when you can't do something? Well, if you're a perfectionist, you damn straight are going to be doing that thing at some point, right? Or if you, let's say, aren't happy. If you aren't happy with who you are, and you're doing yoga a lot, and your identity starts to get equated with yoga postures, and you can't do it, well then you better do it, because this is who you are now. Well, if you can't do it, then you're nothing.
Can I just share something?
Yeah, of course.
So, the one TV show that I really like to watch is American Ninja Warrior. Rick and I love that show. And it's just amazing to see what these like young kids can do. So we were watching it last night, but we were watching it last night, and there was this one kid, and he said before he competed, it was like round 3, so it would be like doing like 4th series of yoga. And he said, "This is all I do. I've committed my whole life to practicing being an American Ninja Warrior." He's like, "So I better be good at it, right?" And it was like very positive. And anyway, he got up there and he got to like the 4th obstacle, and he was, you know, climbing, and he grabbed one of the footholds, which was like that deep, as opposed to a hand one, and fell into the water, and it was over. And apparently last year he had made the same mistake. He just simply grabbed the wrong one, the part A, right, and fell. So he was so devastated, like my heart was breaking for him. He was crying, and the stupid announcer, this big ball, was like, "Oh, he's so emotional," and I wanted to be like, "Are you kidding me?" It was like such a not nice thing to ask someone. He was like falling apart. But what, in that moment, it was just like, it was so clear to me, because I see this in so many places in the yoga community, like, this is his identity.
Yeah.
To him, this was like his self-esteem. So the fact that he made it to this 3rd round and was like one of so few people that even got it, he couldn't see that part. All he could see was the fact that he perceivably failed, which he didn't. But it was just heartbreaking. And the fact that the little clip beforehand, he said, "This is all I do. This is who I am. Of course I better be good at this."
Right.
You know, and it was, and then of course I just thought about in the yoga community.
Yeah.
We see this more and more and more, and it's just like these lives that are not well-rounded. They're like these, you know, tunnel.
Mhm. Now, the thing is, just sort of close off our session today is that, so Sthita and Sukham, if, like, I want to go full circle, if you're doing your practice with Sthita and Sukham, you're going to start to do your life with Sthita and Sukham. If you're not, you're doing it with all those other things that I said. What did we mention? Shaking and loud breathing, and what else did we say?
Lack of stability, lack of peacefulness, lack
A
of
distracted
clarity,
mind.
distracted mind.
The same practice done in these two different ways is going to have completely different results on your life. So it pays to look at the quality of your practice, and particularly the quality of your breathing in your practice, the quality of your mind in your practice, because it's those things that are going to change your body. Like this, you know, this morning, and there's something I had given somebody in class this morning, over a year ago. No breathing, no moving, just breathing. Sit down, and if you're having a problem in one side of your body, do this. Just do this thing, and no moving, just breathing and visualization. And her body relaxed so much from doing this, right? So the idea is that less is more, that as long as you're feeling your breathing, you're calm, and you feel stable when you're doing your practice. I don't care how long your practice is. I don't care how short it is. I don't care how easy it is, like easy in the sense where not hard postures. I don't care how hard it is. If it's the right practice for you, just do it right. And do it with Sthita and Sukham is how we do it right. And then watch how your life begins to shift.
So would you say, in other words, the focus, which is on the function, is really focusing on your breath?
It depends on the asana. And we're going to talk more about that in 2 weeks. Like Patanjali tells us how to do this. He actually tells us how to do this. But it depends on which category the asanas are in. Each category has a different function. Yeah, which we'll get into more. Okay. Thank you. Stop recording. Stop recording. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for the traffic.
Oh, no, it's not your fault.